The one shitty part about like the legalized sports gambling thing, though, it's like it takes away like that dirty feeling.
All the relationships with I've been talking about this all week because like all relationships with bookies are gonna be like they're just gonna be gone. Like that relationship with the bookie that you have is like second to none. Like you can't have that anymore.
It's better than like a marriage or a
Yeah.
girlfriend or anything like that. That relationship you have, you guys, you talk in code words like give me double nickel on the over, like.
And it's like you like dread hearing from them on Mondays after you lose, but then can't wait to fucking get your money when you win. It's just a whole like love hate relationship.
Mhm.
I don't. That's like, it's like I don't know. It's just like that's the one reason. It's like oh shit, it's gonna go away. It's exciting, but it's gonna go away, and now I don't have this shit fun stuff going on. It's weird.
Yeah,
It's weird.
yeah. It's a sad day, but it's a good day for us all. So let's get loaded.
Wakanda! Welcome!
Big shot.
Welcome to the Loaded Box Podcast.
But we never finished first because we finished last.
Thank you once again for tuning in to the Loaded Box Podcast. I am Ben Morgan, that is DJ Primo, and as you heard in the intro, we're talking about some legalized sports gambling, which is cool because you have instant access if you didn't before. But as we were saying, man, you kind of lose a little bit of that intimate feeling that you had with a stranger who either took your money or gave you money, and it was just a really weird feeling, and I loved that feeling for years, and it's about to go away.
Oh yeah, it's we've got at least a year or two, I think, depending state by state. But here in Wisconsin, I bet we've got 1 to 2 years left of this
Maybe.
like dirty gambling.
Maybe. I don't know. Even when it's legal, like I still want to do it on the down
Well,
low.
it's not going to be. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be this year for us. I can tell you that for a fact.
Well, with that recent news of the gambling becoming legal, like DJ said, giving states the option to decide, it is the perfect timing for this podcast. We have wanted to do over-under NFL team win totals all offseason. We were thinking about it, and with this news, like, yeah, we definitely have to do it. So today, we're going to do every single team in the AFC, go through team by team. Some of them we probably won't like too much. Other ones we'll say why we really like either the over or the under and why. And we're getting our lines like on these total wins from OddsShark. So if you hear this and say, "Oh, I saw it at 10.5, not 9.5," blame OddsShark. Don't blame us. You got to get them from somewhere. Okay. So
I love
OddsShark.
when you like interpret or like I don't know the word, but when you pretend to give an impression of somebody else's voice, they have like the dumbest voice possible, like. I
I think my impression of other people, like my generic go-to one, is basically what I sound like after 12 beers.
Yeah, probably.
Well, shit. Should we kick it off with a little AFC East?
I guess.
So
Right into your wheelhouse.
I looked, and when I went through the divisions, obviously I put through the number that Vegas said or OddsShark set for the over-under on the wins. And the AFC West, AFC West? It should be called the AFC Least because they are tied for the worst with total number of wins that Vegas projects them at 29 wins. So
Because of the other three teams.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to talk too personal about that. You're getting a little bit on my bad side there.
Yeah.
Let's start with the team that's over double digits, though, the New England Patriots. Vegas set them at 10.5 wins. What do you like, over or under?
I have to go over for the Patriots. It doesn't make any sense to go under here. They're in the weakest division, I think, in football.
Yeah,
They're playing with the Bills, the Jets, the Finns. So that's
6
five-
wins.
6 wins. Sometimes they get surprised against the Dolphins, like on the road or whatever. But 5 to 6 wins at 5 wins minimum, probably 6 wins right there. Pretty easy schedule overall. Some of the toughest games they have are the Jaguars and Pitt on the road, and then they have Green Bay and Minnesota, but those games are both at home for them. So I imagine they're going to win 2 to 3 of those games and maybe lose 1 or 2 games outside of those. I can't see them going any lower than 12-4 with the division they're in and the schedule they have here. I mean, they get Indianapolis. Who knows if they get Andrew Luck? But I mean, looking at the schedule, it's it couldn't be any easier for these guys. It's ridiculous. Like, how is this even
Patriots, and they
possible?
always win the division. So,
Yeah.
like you said, it's guaranteed wins. When we go through these, I'm obviously going to say whether I like it over or under, but I'm also going to say, yeah, I would definitely bet this. This is a top one.
Oh, yeah.
Or like, no, I probably wouldn't bet this.
Well, I mean, I bet the odds on this one are not in your favor either, but to go
Right.
over.
Yeah. So 10.5. I have them going 11-5. So I guess I'm technically taking it over. The one thing that would scare me about this, and the reason why I wouldn't have it like on my list of ones that I'm going to bet on, is at some point it has to happen. Like the fall of the Patriots, the fall of Tom Brady. He's another year older. Towards the end of last year, you had all of this turmoil with him, Garoppolo, the coach, the management, who's on the owner's side. All of this, like, at some point, like, history says it has to blow it. It has to come to an end at some point. So 10, maybe, yeah, you could get a push. But even if they go 10-6, they're going to win the division. But you still lose your bet here because they didn't get to that 11 mark.
But I think you're looking at that completely wrong with the fall. I don't think they're near as good as what they were. They're just in the correct division to just keep dominating. Like, if they had to go through teams like in the NFC South,
Right.
they would lose a lot more games. Like, they don't have to deal with that. The AFC is weak. The AFC East is the weakest of the weak.
Yep.
They just are lined up perfectly. So it doesn't even matter. Like, they can be just good right now, but they look great because of the competition they're going against is so bad.
And they're one of those teams, too, that takes total control and advantage of home field advantage. Like in that November, December time range when teams go to Foxborough, those are almost guaranteed wins. So, yeah, you look at the 10.5 and you're just like, yeah, how do you – I couldn't bet it under. There's no way I'm betting it under.
Nope, no chance.
But, so,
I had them 12-4 at the worst. 13-3 counted out.
All right, so you like the over. Would that be one that you would actually risk money on?
Oh, yeah. That one for me is easy. Just look at the schedule. I have it up right now. It just doesn't even make sense.
Let's go on to the Bills. They are over-under is set at 6.5. Interesting number here. New quarterback. Not really sure who's going to be the quarterback, whether it's McCarron or when they traded up and took Josh Allen. Could end up being a combination at both, depending on how it goes. So 6.5, where do you see it?
I'm going under with the Bills, and I think I see 4 wins when I look at the schedule. When I was going through it, and I didn't go game by game like you did. I just go through and look at difficult. I found 4 wins for them, maybe 4 wins. I was giving them the benefit of the doubt here. No matter who their quarterback is, whether it's McCarron, or Josh Allen, who we both think stinks. They have no offense. Like they could be potentially the worst team in the NFL this year. I honestly believe that. They might be getting the number 1 draft pick next year because of where they're set up. They don't have – their only highlight is LaShawn McCoy at this point.
Right.
Like, they're going to go from making the playoffs to 4 wins in my prediction this next year. I'm going easily under 6.5, and I would definitely bet this.
I felt weird going through their schedule because when I think about the Bills and the recent history, I'm always like, all right, they're going to be around like that 8-8 mark. They might make a run for the playoffs. They might be that team that's just on the cusp. I went through their schedule, had them at 4-12. So with 2.5 games under, this is one that I would bet on. Between McCarron and Allen, I think their ceiling is 6. So with that, I would definitely bet on this one. Like you said, they have McCoy. And outside of that, there's no real threat that you're going to have to be like, okay, we're taking this guy away. This is the guy we need to key in on. And with McCoy, you can maybe get him going early, but if they get down, they're going
to be playing from behind.
If a young quarterback starts making bad mistakes, they are going to be playing from behind. You're going to limit the effectiveness of a guy like LaShawn McCoy, and your defense is going to be on the field. And I don't think their defense is what it was in the past. In the last couple of years, towards like the end of their run with like Mario Williams, they had the other Williams at tackle. They had some good pass rushers. They had some good corners. I just don't see their defense being as dominant as it was. So I'm a definite under here. I have them going 4-12.
Yeah. So I said 4 wins maybe.
4 wins maybe, and I give them 6 max. So we're both under there. Same win total for the New York Jets. I couldn't believe when I saw this at 6.5.
6.5.
You have them here.
This one was more difficult for me. Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
The Jets 6.5 here were more difficult for me. I went under on this one. Just looking at it, I don't know who their quarterback's going to be, so that makes it a little bit more difficult. I actually would be more confident if Darnold was the quarterback than Was
McCown.
it Bridgewater or
Yeah.
McCown? Who's going to be the starting quarterback? Everybody forgets about Bridgewater. But right now I have them at 5 wins, so I'm going under 6.5. I think depending on their QB situation, I could have him go a little bit higher. He does have some good weapons at wide receiver, whoever the quarterback is. If it was Darnold, I think I
Right.
might be pushing the. I would be closer to going over. I'd be right in that area. But he's got Robbie Anderson. He's got Ardarius Stewart coming up.
They have a million running backs. They just don't know which one they're going to use.
They got a bunch of running backs. Defense isn't terrible.
No,
So,
they made improvements on defense. I'll give you that.
yeah. So I don't know. I'm under right now, 6.5. But I guess it just depends. And This is one of those things like you're just taking a shot in the air because you don't know how good Darnold could actually be if he plays. So it's hard to know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the uncertainty there if he starts and if he just strikes it right away. Yeah, you don't even have to finish 500 and you win this bet.
Yeah.
I'm predicting that if Darnold plays, though, like I think he's going to struggle. I think he's going to have a bit of a learning curve, especially in New York, where I don't think it's like the most talented roster in the world. This is my lock bet of the AFC East. I would take it under. When I went through the schedule, I had them finishing 3-13, and I have a feeling that if I'm 3.5 wins, what Vegas has them, that's got to be my lock. Like that's how I predicted which ones. Yes, I'm definitely would bet this one versus I like it over, or I like it under, but I'm not really going to bet on it. This would be the one that I would definitely bet in the AFC East.
It's so weird because when I go through and look at the schedule and I see Indianapolis on team schedules, I don't even pick win or loss in that in my head. I just skip it.
When we get to those teams that have those quarterback things, I have a little bit of a theory on that, but it's almost like you have to kind of have one way in your head. Yes, this guy's playing, or no, he's not.
I have one way in my head. Yeah.
But yeah, I would go under on the Jets. Sorry to the Jets fans out there, but I just don't think this is going to be your year. I've got you winning 3 games, which might be low, but honestly, it means 6.5. I can give you 3 more wins, and you're still losing this bet. So
yeah, I had him 5.
Well, let's go to who Vegas thinks has the lowest, and this was just a stab to the heart because I have the Dolphins at 5.5.
Yeah, I mean, rightfully so. I think. I don't know. I guess maybe we forget that Tannehill wasn't terrible, but he's just average. Like I have them going under. I just don't. I don't know. The build. The way this roster is built is just awful. Like it's bad. I have them under 5.5 wins. I hate how their roster is built. They have an average quarterback, an old fucking running back with a young guy behind him in Kenyon Drake, and average or worse wide. Just a bunch of average or worse than average wide receivers. Like that wide receiver core, them and the Ravens are like, who can get the most average wide receivers on one team? It's like, we can outdo the Bears from last year. That's what they're doing. Plus, they lost their center, and Pouncey wanted to get the fuck out of there. Sue's not there, so I think you're going to see huge. I think they're going to give up 200 rushing yards a game. I just think they're just going to struggle and going to be playing from behind a ton. I have them under 5.5. I don't think it's going to be a good year for you, Ben.
If they give up 200 rushing yards per game, I will never watch the Dolphins again. That is an astronomical number.
That's how bad I think they're going to be.
You're an asshole. I have to go over here, and trust me, I'm not being a homer, I swear.
It is kind of, though. Like, you're always going to be over a little more optimistic for your team, no matter what. I can't even, like...
But I do have them going 7-9, so it's not like I'm saying, 10-6, 11-5, here comes the playoffs. I just think they'll be about average.
Still a little high.
And you can be a little bit below average and go over 5.5 wins. And like you said, last time they had Tannehill, they made the playoffs. And if you look at that schedule, I know that I think you might have it up for each team. Their schedule is easier than usual. They usually suck on the road when it's cold. So they have a road game at Buffalo week 17. They have no other outdoor cold games. November 11th in Green Bay is the only option. It's going to be a loss, but that's the only weather game that you'd have to think about. And November 11th in Green Bay could be totally fine as well.
Isn't Minnesota outside now too?
No. They have a roof. They play the Super Bowl there.
Remember. Oh, yeah.
Jeez, you've been drinking again, haven't you?
I couldn't remember. But they have, look at the end of their last few weeks. It's like New England, Minnesota, Jacksonville, 3 weeks in a row. That's a great way to end the season.
They're going to be hot going into those games, man. They're going to be hot.
Yeah,
I agree with what you're saying, though. I mean, the Frank Gore thing, he can eat up some carries. The receiver, Devontae Parker's got all the talent in the world. He's never put it together. I'm I'm not going to buy into that hype this year, no matter what they say during training camp. So you can rest assured I'm not going to be like, this is the year. But yeah, Amendola, Albert Wilson, Kenny Stills, like they're guys. They can get the job done, but they're not like that huge threat there. And they just drafted Gesicki at tight end. You have no idea what he's going to produce. So offensively, you don't really know. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I don't think that they're going to have this great year, or maybe even contend. But I mean, you can go 6-10. It looks like a shitty year, but you win this bet.
I have fucking literally looking at their schedule. I think they split with the Jets. They split with the Bills. They beat Indy without Andrew Luck if that's the situation, and maybe at Cincinnati. I just don't. That's all I have for them.
I think
that's
you're
like
here.
3 wins.
I think you're here you're the hammer and I'm the nail, and you're just trying to push me down just farther. That's all you're trying to do right now.
I'm just telling you the truth. This is what I honestly believe. I don't have anything against the Dolphins. Like, they've never been a threat to me in my lifetime, so it's just my honest opinion of Miami. It's just what it is.
They beat the Packers last time they played head-to-head.
My gosh. And then they won the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah,
Thanks.
They did.
Thanks for the reminder.
Let's go on to the AFC West. So Vegas has the combination of these 4 teams at 33 wins, which is tied for the second most of all of them. So Vegas thinks it's going to be a pretty good division. The team they have on top is the LA Chargers at 9.5 wins.
I have them going over. I see a minimum of 10 wins for this team. This is not a real tough schedule that they're playing, but they also have one of the more well-rounded teams in football.
Definitely.
Just all around. Like, they can throw the ball, they can run the ball. They're making that offensive line better, and the defensive line with the linebacker position are working on, and have a great secondary, so they can defend. They're like they're kind of like, which is kind of funny, but they're the AFC version of the Saints. In my opinion here. So. They have the running back who can catch and run the ball.
Yep.
He's not quite as good as Melvin Gordon's not quite as good as Todd Gurley, but he's in that top 10. He's as the Kamara Ingram type of situation. But they are a good football team. So I mean, they missed the playoffs last year somehow magically.
On that stupid.
I don't know how.
At the end of the year
I don't get it. I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
That division I don't really like. It seems like those guys. That division is weird because it seemed like the Raiders were on their way up, the Chiefs were playing really well, and the Broncos just won the Super Bowl not too long ago. And it seems like they're all going backwards. Besides the Chargers, I don't have confidence in anybody else in that division really.
Right, and that's why I think I would go over on this one. It's not one that I'm super comfortable on betting. I had them going 10-6, so I only had them obviously a half win, if that's even a thing. Yeah. More than their total, but I think you have to go the over here because I see that division. The winner of that division, I feel like, has to end up with double-digit wins, and I have the Chargers predicted to win that division. So just based on that alone, and like you said, of all the teams, every one of those teams kind of has like a glimmer of hope. Like there's something there, but the Chargers feel like that more complete team, and then on defense, you just added Derwin James. You've got the edge rushers and Ingram and Bosa. You've got Verrett making plays. You've got really good talent. And then offensively, Hunter Henry, I think he's going to be a huge addition this year with Gates out of the way. Not only in real, but in fantasy football. Like, I'm huge on Hunter Henry. I love the Eckler-Gordon combination. Everyone likes Keenan Allen on the outside. I haven't met a person who doesn't like Keenan Allen because of everything he can do.
Great. Yeah.
And if Mike Williams makes any sort of jump in year 2, like he should be a little bit healthier.
Well, he couldn't even play last year, so.
Yeah, that's the thing. If he's healthy this year and he makes any sort of contribution, that is a really good team on paper. So you never know how it's going to translate. But, I mean, Rivers being towards the end of his career, he's going to obviously be going balls to the wall trying to make something happen. I'm going to have to go over on this one for sure.
Yeah, I didn't say, but this is probably one I wouldn't bet. But I would definitely go over here.
If you had to make a call. Let's go to Oakland. Vegas has them at the second highest at 8.5 wins.
Las Vegas Raiders. I have them. This is the thing. I love the Raiders. They're like one of my favorite AFC teams. I love Derek Carr. I think they have a potential superstar. I think the hiring of Gruden is what makes me nervous here. With his old school, whatever the fuck he wants to do, bring in Jordy Nelson, bring in Doug Martin.
He's acquiring all the old people. How'd they not get Frank Gore? This is bullshit.
Yeah, I don't understand. This offensive line is, is phenomenal. I'm going to cough button.
Nice. You
His
crushed
offensive
it
line's
that time.
phenomenal. They're great. So I really like what they potentially could do, but I think Gruden is gonna. I'm scared he's just gonna take the ball out of Derek Carr's hands, and it's gonna be run with a couple of mixed play actions, and it's gonna be more like your early 2000s football, and it's just not gonna work. And then teams are just gonna pick their defense apart still in the secondary. So I have them going under 8.5 wins because I think Gruden was a terrible hire, and I think it's gonna backfire on them. I wish they would have gone younger at that position because I think you can do a lot of things with Carr, and Gruden's not going to be able to be the one that brings that out.
They're a really confusing team, and they made some really confusing moves in the offseason.
Yeah.
I mean, they had, you mentioned all the free agents and everyone they grabbed who's like towards the tail end of their prime or out of their prime. And then just weird draft picks. I mean, they had a top 20 draft pick and took Colton Miller.
Yeah.
And then in the second round, they take P.J. Hall, who's a defensive tackle out of a small school in Sam Houston State. And then their next pick is an offensive tackle from NC So that's a lot of puzzling picks and a team that has some holes. And I'm just really confused. Mo Hurst might be their best pick, and they got him like 5th or 6th round.
Yeah, it was late.
Really confusing team. I have technically, I mean, I went through the schedule, and I guess I technically have to go over because I had them going 9-7. But not touching it, the Raiders fooled me last year, so I wouldn't risk money on this one. I think there's a chance they're okay, but yeah, really confusing team.
If they had a better coach, I would easily go over. I mean, I like the Martavis Bryant signing.
I do too.
I love him paired with Amari Cooper. I think that's a great pair, those two. Jordy Nelson, to me, is obsolete. He doesn't exist, but he'll try to force him in the offense. John Gruden will, and he shouldn't. Marshawn Lynch, Doug Martin combination doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Yeah, it's confusing.
What is that? What are you going to do with those two? I don't get it. Marshawn Lynch doesn't care. He just doesn't care anymore. And Doug Martin is just done, I feel like. So I don't know. And that adding more offensive linemen just makes me think he just wants to run and he's just assuming that somebody's going to get injured, so he'll replace them with another, get a lot of depth on that. Because they already have a great offensive line. Why are you still adding there?
Two are their first 3 picks, offensive line, yeah.
Yeah.
If Jordy Nelson can somehow get rejuvenated somehow, and if he can play on the outside with Bryant, and they could let Cooper roam in the slot, like that'd be dirty. But Nelson isn't Nelson of 2012 or 13, whenever he was just freaking on fire. Maybe
even Rodgers was having trouble trying to get the ball to him when he was fucking healthy. So
yeah, but yeah, I think
he had a bunch of touchdowns, but they were all inside the 15-yard line. Yep. It was ridiculous.
He was red zone monster. I think both of our advice there would just be pass. Don't touch that one.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the Chiefs, who Vegas has at 7.5 wins.
I have zero faith in Pat Mahomes.
Ooh,
none. So I'm going under 7.5 wins. I don't think he's going to be good. I just don't think he's going to be great. I think the offense is going to struggle with him. I think he's going to turn the ball over. And their defense already struggled against the pass last year. I know they're getting Barry back, but. Yep. I mean, they lost Marcus Peters. So I just don't think – I don't know. I think defensively they're going to get picked apart and they're going to be playing in shootouts, and I don't think Mahomes – I mean, that's the kind of offense he played in back in college, but this is the NFL. I think he's going to be turning the ball over a ton. I am going under 7.5 wins.
And no Marcus Peters either, trying to create those turnovers. With
him
that's
what
the
I
Rams.
said. Yeah.
Once again, I went through it. I have him going 8-8, but I'm not touching this one. You nailed it on the head with I don't want to call him a rookie quarterback, but a first-year starting quarterback in Mahomes. There's so much uncertainty. You really don't know what there is, so I'm passing this one. I do see them regressing a little bit. They had 10 wins last year. I don't think they touched that this year. You nailed it on the head. What if I like Mahomes more than you do. I think he'll be fine. I think it's going to take a little time, though. I think the Chiefs made the right call by going to Mahomes. I just think you're not going to see it right away this year. You're going to see flashes. He's going to grow, maybe year 2 or year 3. That's where I see the Chiefs really becoming contenders. Hopefully him, Hunt, Watkins, Kelsey can kind of grow and stay together. I think that's a good core to have. I just don't see it this year. How about this? Kareem Hunt, so obviously came onto the scene, just burst last year. And then he went 7 straight weeks in the middle of the season.
It wasn't good.
Under 90 rushing yards and a touchdown. During the middle of the season.
He disappeared.
Oh, big time. Do you think he'll be less effective with Mahomes just because they're going to be able to focus more on Hunt? Would you avoid drafting Hunt early in fantasy drafts?
I'm not going to reach on Kareem Hunt, that's for sure. But it's hard not to. But people are going to look at his like just overall
stats
finish from last year,
right.
and then like the people that own him are going to remember like where did he go to for 9 straight weeks. Like I remember him completely disappearing. Like he was a non-factor.
He went from like one of the most expensive FanDuel guys to like cheap.
He was obsolete for literally like multiple weeks in a row, and you can't have that in a guy that's. I mean, I don't know if it was the way the plays were being called. I don't know what was happening. It doesn't seem like he was being utilized well enough either. But it wasn't good.
Yeah, that's kind of when the Chiefs went into their little like tank mode because they looked awesome right away, and then they started tailing off, and Hunt's production just dropped, and it was killing people. Well, maybe not killing, but he still went fairly early in drafts last year because of that Spencer Ware injury happened before a lot of fantasy drafts.
Yeah.
So he got boosted up more than he would have been, but he's still going to be the lead guy. The volume's there, but yeah, without a proven quarterback. And that streak he went on last year where he didn't really score anything, I'd probably avoid him.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the Broncos, who I believe are also at 7.5, where the Chiefs were. What do you got for the Broncos?
I have them over, but I'm very reluctant. You pretty much know my feelings on Case Keenum, but he is a functional quarterback where they haven't had a functional quarterback for a couple of years here. Because, I mean, he has a couple of good weapons outside with Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, and the new guy, was it Cortland Sutton? Wide receivers, and a phenomenal defense. So really, they're bouncing back at the defense with the pick of Chubb, Von Miller on the other side, some solid quarterbacks. They have a good defense, and I think a guy who could actually get the ball to some of those wide receivers and not look completely incompetent in Case Keenum. So the offense should be a little bit better, and the defense can be scary. So, I mean, 8-8 is roughly what I'm looking at, so I'm barely over here. But I'm not touching any of this. I don't have any idea what Case Keenum's going to look like out here in Denver.
Yeah, when I went through their schedule, I ended up having them at 9-7, so that says over. But I actually, the more you talk about it and I hear it, I don't think I would actually put real money on this one. I remember watching the Broncos a couple of times last year when they were going through that spell, and I know that the offense wasn't apt, so it made the defense be on the field. Teams could run, and then when they were focused on the run, they could pass, obviously, and just killed Denver that way. So their defense really gave up a lot more than it usually would. But I just remember watching that team and saying, wow, this team is so inept. They can't, they just looked out of it. They look disinterested. So that scares me a little bit here, but all the exact reasons you said are why I think that they could go over, because I think that they were a quarterback away, and they were a quarterback away from being in those games. And I don't think Keenum's awesome. I still think the Broncos should have drafted Rosen where they were.
Yep.
But, I mean, Keenum is a much better upgrade to Paxton Lynch and Trevor Siemian, so I think that alone is going to boost that offense. So we'll see. I'll say over here, but wouldn't bet it.
You know, it's crazy to think that if Chubb wouldn't have been there, they would have traded down, and maybe they fucking still would have had a chance to take Rosen later.
Rosen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the AFC North. Vegas has those 4 teams totaled at 29 wins, which is tied for the worst. Kind of funny that Cleveland's in there because they only have 1 win over the last 2 years. But let's start at the top. Vegas has Pittsburgh at 10.5 wins.
Oh shit! I have them. I have them at 10 wins. And that's
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, so I guess I'm going under, and a lot of that has to do with them having to play the entire NFC South, which I think is probably the best division in football. So you've got New Orleans, Tampa Bay, the Falcons, and Carolina.
Yeah.
That's just tough all around there. They do have a pretty easy division. But, I mean, those kind of make up for each other. And then you've got Jacksonville, they got the Chargers, they got the Patriots, they got the Saints, or the Saints I already said, but that they have to deal with. I'm putting on, and then they lose a couple of really shitty games. That's just kind of, they lose 1 or 2 really dumb games every year.
Yep.
Where Roethlisberger goes inept, and then he just can't play on the road. He has that issue. So I have them just right on 6-6, which will win the division, or 10-6, which will win the division, but I have that under. That's such a tough one.
Under, but not betting it?
No.
Probably. Okay,
No,
so
I'm not.
I'll go opposite. I have him over, but I'm not betting it
Yeah.
because I've got him going 11-5, and I just don't have. I could see 11 to 12 wins easily, but I'm just not going to touch it because Ben Roethlisberger gets hurt, and he has that issue where he might miss a game here or there. He might be questionable, and like you said, even when he plays on the road, it's a thing. Like we went through this multiple times last year. It's a thing that he does not perform quite as well. I don't know. We'll get to the other teams in the division. I could see them mowing through some of these teams in the division, but also, like you said, there's just a game every once in a while they just lay down.
Dude,
You think they're going to blow up, and they just suck.
November 18th, they play at Jacksonville. I think that's a Sunday night game. That's a guaranteed loss.
Yeah.
Like, Jacksonville owns them. They own them already, and they have to play at Jacksonville. They're going to get the shit beat out of them in that game. I'm calling that right now. Jacksonville beats the shit out of the Steelers in week whatever that is, like 10, 12.
So instead of betting on their total, DJ just wants to do a futures Jacksonville versus Pittsburgh game. Who cares what the
beats
spread
the
is?
shit out
Jags
of them.
by 20.
I'm betting Jags hard that game.
All right, well I'll go opposite on the win total. I'll go over, but not betting it. I promise that I will bet on this next one though. We'll go to Baltimore. Yeah. The Ravens, 8.5 wins. How you feeling?
I have just a constant hate for the Ravens, always, ever, since we've started podcasting.
You truly have.
Since our naked bet. 8.5, I've got
that without
under.
context is just really awkward.
I don't care. If you haven't been with us from the beginning, then suck it.
No, oh, geez, that's mean. Thanks. Welcome to all the new listeners. Thank you very much for tuning in.
But this offense stinks, and Joe Flacco stinks, and everything about this team stinks except for their defense, but I don't care. I'm going under 8.5 wins because they stink.
Wow, I like it. That's straight to the point. I told you that there was one in this division I really liked, and it's this one, and I'm with you. The Ravens stink. I'm going under. I have them going 4-12. I think that's the biggest discrepancy of all the ones that I went through. It's 4.5 games off of what Vegas has. I feel really bad about doing that. I think I'm low with 4 wins, but I just don't see them finishing 5. Even if they finish 500, you're still okay here.
Yeah.
I think that there's even a chance that if Flacco struggles, if the Ravens struggle, they're going to turn to Lamar Jackson, and I think Lamar Jackson could provide a spark, but at the end of the day, he's still not going to be like this world beater that just leads teams to that team, especially to wins in his first year. So I think it's going to be like an experimental year. I don't think there's any way close they get to the 9 wins that are needed. I was shocked to see that this line was 8.5.
Yeah, that was wild to me.
And I get the whole like defensive thing. Yeah, they made some nice strides. They added some pieces, but not enough. I don't see it. Well, the one thing I do think, like Alex Collins came on nicely, like running. So if they could lean on him, like I said, I'm probably low with 3 or 4 wins, whatever I gave him. But 8.5, no way. I can't do it.
Yeah, and like I talked about when we were talking about the Dolphins, I mentioned their wide receivers. They just they grabbed a bunch of average ass wide receivers.
Right.
It's like all they have. It's nothing. I mean, they have Crabtree, but who knows how his head case ass is going to be with Joe Flacco.
Oh yeah,
those two are not going to get along. So that's going to be interesting dynamic. Plus all the little controversy going on at the QB position.
Right.
There with 3 quarterbacks and. It's going to be I think they're in a bad situation.
Yeah,
and they've got a tough, and I mentioned they already have to play the NFC South as is. So
yeah, so good luck.
Yeah.
I will say right now that is my favorite one on the board. That's my lock. Baltimore under. Book it. Now that vetting's legal, get on it.
Yeah.
Let's go to who Vegas has next. The Cincinnati Bengals, 5.5. What do you got here? I'm interested to talk about this one.
I think this is another team that I was talking about where another team where management like the Raiders is just clueless. Like they just don't have any idea what they're doing. Like what's his dick was supposed to be fired, Marvin Lewis, but now he's still on the team coaching.
That was like a guaranteed thing, and then it didn't happen.
I think their offensive line maybe is a little bit better. I'm still not overly excited about them, and I know everybody's like way high on Joe Mixon this year. This is their breakout player candidate. He's not mine. I'm not going to break out anybody in the Cincinnati backfield until somebody actually plays well once.
Right.
Defense is kind of a joke. The whole attitude is a joke. they don't really have anything going for them. I mean, they're like in a limbo. Like they're not progressing, and they're not going backwards to where they can get better draft picks. They're just bad. They're in a terrible position. I don't like what they're doing, so I'm going under 5.5 wins because they stink.
Yeah, I thought this was the offseason where Cincinnati could maybe like blow things up, change it up a little bit, maybe be that sneaky team that traded up and tried to grab one of these quarterbacks, because I think they're forever stuck at like that 500 mark when it comes to Andy Dalton. I've said all last year they have to move on. He's a capable quarterback, but in that system, the way that team is built, it's not going to happen. I went through their game by game. I have them going 3-13. So yeah, I'm going to say under, but I don't think this is one that I'm going to touch because I think 3 wins is aggressively low. I just struggled to find wins for them going through the schedule. It's a tough schedule. Like you said, the NFC South, they could dump all those games. They could lose 2 to the Steelers easily. The Browns, who we're going to talk about next, who knows how they're going to end up doing. So, yeah, I think I would go under, but I don't think it's one that I'm going to actually put real money on.
Yeah, I agree with you. We're going to get a little bit of baby noise in the background for a few minutes here, but it'll only be shortly.
Oh, beautiful. Perfect.
Yeah.
How's that even coming through the mic? That baby's strong.
Can you hear it?
Cords. Yeah, a little bit.
Let's see that.
Oh, well. Let's go on to the Browns. Vegas has them at 4.5 after all their offseason changes.
We're talking Cleveland right now, so 4.5, and I've mentioned how I feel. This might be my most confident one of the entire, out of every AFC, NFC, every pick. I've got them way over 4.5. I've mentioned, they've got my boy Ty God, my boy Thyroid, Taylor down there. So, I mean, that's an automatic, 7 wins just with him.
Historically, I guess that's technically pretty accurate.
So, yeah, that's just him. But now you've got the combination of Carlos Hyde and then 3 just solid, really good wide receivers in Landry, Gordon, and Coleman's working his way into that to that mix now too. So they have great talent there. They've got Njoku, who is going to be a phenomenal tight end. He showed his flashes last year. And then just a up-and-coming defense, and just they actually have new management, and so they're the opposite of what the Raiders and Ravens are doing. They're going in the right direction finally.
Right.
Jesus Christ, he's got the popper out.
Nice. It sounds like a snare drum.
No, let's not play with that. Play with something else. Okay. So, anyways, daddy advice time.
Yep, daddy advice.
Right. I've got them going over, and I think they go over easily. This roster's too good. They finally got a quarterback. They're a whole new team. They're like a brand new football team.
It feels
They're
that
not
way.
The Browns of last year. It's a completely new team.
It feels that way. I think you're aggressive by saying it's your favorite one just because of the fact that they're 1-31 or whatever over the last 2 seasons. So it's tough to say that, yeah, let's guarantee a bunch of wins. But, I have them going 8-8. Like everyone else in this division, tough schedule, really tough schedule. But like you said, it's a whole new roster, so many new additions. The new quarterback, the new running backs, the new receiver, the youth and the talent, and the emergence of bringing Josh Gordon back in for an entire season. I would bet the over. This is one that I'll actually put money on. If they don't get to 5 wins, biggest disappointment in the NFL, and they're fucked forever. Like, what can they do differently? Honestly,
yeah,
they got Baker Mayfield too, so that's a different thing. But
if they can't win over 4.5 games, they are literally the most cursed team of all time. I wouldn't even understand that.
Yeah, it's not my guarantee, but yeah, I will put
it's guaranteed for
real money over 4.5. Come on, Cleveland, we got you. We're supporting
I'll slam that
you,
shit.
Damn it. Let's go on to the last division in the AFC, the South. Vegas has them with a total of 33 wins, which is tied for the second most. They have a tie for who they think is the best team in the division, and they have the Jaguars and the Texans both at 9.5 wins. Let's start with the Jags.
I've got the Jags going over here as I went through their schedule. I've got them at 12 wins. I just think their defense is so good. They've got my boy Blake Bortles there, best quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. The defense isn't going to be worse. That's for damn sure. They might be better this year. And Blake Bortles is going to be confident. He's going to be great. He's going to come out. He's going to come out firing. He's got a new, at least one new wide receiver to play with there. Hopefully Marquise Lee kind of keeps progressing the way he is going there. So I think you'll see a little bit more opportunity for him to throw the ball this year. a lot more play action, a chance to push down the field. Because a lot of people are going to be focusing on Leonard Fournette, and then the defense is going to continue to do their thing. I mean, this schedule isn't tough, and they've got their toughest games in Philadelphia, but they get them in their ultimate home game in London, so they're going to win that game. That's a guaranteed win for the Jaguars. So that's nice for them. But otherwise, it's nothing. It doesn't look problematic here. They've got Buffalo, Indy, Tennessee. I'm not worried about Washington, Miami. A bunch of easy games there. Giants. So they've got a lot of wins on the schedule.
What you said about the defense was kind of incredible to me too, because they burst on the scene last year and were really good defensively. And like you said, there's so much room to grow. That they went from like not being recognized as like this ultimate defense to now you're like, oh my God, this is probably the best defense in the league, or one of the top three. They're up there with the Eagles and the Vikings, but yeah, they're right there. And that secondary and those linebackers, their edge rushers, they're all so young. There's room to grow and grow together the way that they're doing it. So yeah, it'd be hard for me. However, I had them going 9-7. Big believer in the defense, but I am just a hater on the offense. I'm such a hater. I love the Leonard Fournette.
They're just going to be better. They're only going to get better than they were last year.
Let me say this, though. I wouldn't touch this one. I'm only saying under because my win total. I'm literally one win away from having to say over here. I'm not touching it on the bet. I'm not touching it on the actual bet because of that defense. And like I said, if they can rely on their defense and Leonard Fournette every week, and just Bortles just kind of has to just play, be a warm body that can hold on to a football. Beautiful. Yeah, they can get 10 wins. But I'm just not touching this team.
Bortles is going to light you up.
Let's go on to the other team Vegas has at 9.5, and I thought this might be a little bit aggressive for the Texans with the uncertainty of Watson. Jesus. Houston, 9.5. What do you got?
All right, this is going to be the boldest thing that anybody's ever heard. And I'm not just saying this for a hot take. I truly believe this, but it's going to be a hot take. So no matter what, they're going to twist it on me. But if Andrew Luck is healthy, I think the Texans end up last in this division.
That is a hot take.
Yeah, that is. I think Watson productivity, I mean, what you saw last year was an anomaly. He came out, he's one of those guys that runs around, throws the ball, is out of control, that defenses just aren't used to right away. It's like somebody you got to get videotape on. When a guy's that athletic, can do a couple of things really well, they don't take those away right away. That's what he did, but he still had 8 interceptions, and I think he accounted for like 21 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But he still had 8 interceptions, had a bunch of interceptions, had a bunch of turnovers, and I think they're going to take away that his defenses are going to now have an off season to go, and they're going to go look at him. And I think he really only did like one thing like specifically well, and that was just running around and getting out of the pocket and extending those plays. I think they're going to be able to take that away from him. I think he's going to. People are predicting him to do so much more than what I think. He's not going to put up those type of numbers. He'd be the best quarterback to ever play. That was like video game.
Oh yeah,
it was just ridiculous.
He was literally like statistically on pace to be like Marino in his second year with like damn near 50 touchdowns, a ton of interceptions. But yeah, fantasy wise, the dude was just sparking it. So yeah, a lot of people in fantasy circles love him.
There's a whole offseason of tape on this guy now.
Right.
I don't think their defense is going to be as good as everybody expects them to be. But
defense
who knows what J.J. Watt's going to actually be if he ever plays a full season again.
They need J.J. Watt to obviously be back, be healthy, but they need more. They gave up the most points per game in the entire NFL last year, and that's not going to cut it with, like you said, if defensive coordinators find a little bit of a way or a flaw in Watson's game that they can take advantage of, that could be problematic. So went through their schedule, have them at 9-7, so I could go either way. I'm technically going under, but not touching it because of that uncertainty with Watson. Who even knows how healthy he is, like when he's going to come back, and when he does come back, how healthy he's going to be. So,
I mean,
because of that, I'm going to go under, but it's not one that I want to bet.
I know this could. Do you remember how bad the Texans were after he got hurt? Like, they were fucking horrendous, right?
Yeah.
And like, as I said, they played well when he played, but I think that I think he literally, like I said, has like one strength that's going to be taken away, and you're going to see similar to that. I mean, it's going to be a little bit better, but I don't think it's going to be great. They do have good weapons. They have Lamar Miller, they have Deontay Foreman, then they have Hopkins and Will Fuller on the outside.
Right.
But I just think you're going to see Watson making a lot of bad decisions, as you saw, and throwing interceptions, and that touchdown productivity is just not going to happen, and people are going to be severely disappointed.
This is one of those divisions that has that, like, you probably won't see a lot of action in Vegas or in like the bets on these because of that uncertainty. They have Houston with, you don't know what you have right now in Watson, and you have the Colts and you don't know what you have in Luck. So when it comes to predicting these teams, I don't know where you start because you have to be like, all right, well, this is where I think he's coming in. This is how healthy I think he is. If he misses a couple of times, this is where I think he might turn over. So yeah, I have Houston at 9-7. I'm right where kind of Vegas is on that one. But yeah, not touching it whatsoever. Let's go to the Titans, who don't have any questions at quarterback, even though he didn't have that great of a year last year.
No, but
Marcus Mariota. The Titans are at 7.5.
I've got them going over the 7.5 wins. I still like this Titans team. I still like Marcus Mariota. I think last year him and Jameis, they just ran into some health issues like with the team, and they just couldn't. It's just like the team just wasn't on the same page. I think both of these teams, the Buccaneers and the Titans, bounce back in these quarterbacks. I have them over. I love how balanced that this team 2 years ago, like one of the most fun teams to watch with their balance between being able to run to pass balance offensively. It was just great. Like they'd run, they'd be great at it, and then he'd play actually be perfect and be on the money. And I thought you'd continue to see that in the last year. Obviously, it didn't happen. But the best part about this team is their defense is improving and improving quickly. After this offseason, I think they're the Patriots of the South now. They got Logan Ryan and Malcolm Butler in the offseason, so that'll be interesting.
And Deion Lewis.
And Deion Lewis. So they're improving defensively, and they do it. They addressed it kind of like Green Bay addressed it. Their secondary was terrible. They made some moves in the offseason. I like that Derrick Henry can grab the reins at running back and just do it by himself. I expect actually a big year out of him. I expect them to go right back on page, and I think they might be in the wild card chase this year. I like the Titans a lot.
I love that combination of Henry and Deion Lewis so much more than I liked that combo of DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry. Like, I think that's I can't wait to see how they do that, because I think that they have enough creativity that they can get all those guys involved, and then Mariota being a dual threat as well. This offense has the potential to be really good if Mariota can make a little bit better decisions. If Corey Davis comes on, Delaney Walker's still a productive guy. The defense is getting better, as you mentioned. I have them going over that 7.5, but I got them at 8-8. They're one of the toughest teams right now for me to predict because of all the things that I said I really like, but for some reason there was just something missing last year and it didn't click. So I just don't know how that's going to project over this offseason into next year. I'm not going to touch this one. I guess, gun to my head though, I would go over on that 8.
Well, and you've got another year with Corey Davis, another year with Taylor Lewan to figure it out. I think you're going to see mass improvement out of those guys as well.
Right, yeah, definitely. As you are to Tyrod Taylor, I am to Corey Davis, so I'm right there with you.
What was the other receiver? What the fuck was
Rashard Matthews?
No, they had another young guy, didn't they?
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm blanking on his name right now.
Yeah.
But regardless, I know exactly who you're talking about. Speedy guy. Let's go on to the Colts, the other one with the question mark here at quarterback. Vegas only has them at 6.5.
I hate this one because I can't give a prediction. If I had to make the bet right now, I'm going to say that I think Andrew Luck plays, and if Andrew Luck plays, it's over 6.5 easy. And then they're in the contention for the division because Andrew Luck's that type of player where he's like Aaron Rodgers, where he can change the entire outlook of a team. Without him, it's under though. But right now, if I make a prediction, which is bold for me, I'm just going to assume Andrew Luck is playing though. I'm going to go over, and it's just because of him. It's not because they're really talented. It's because he's that good.
So I'm going to go under here because I've got them going 5-11. If you're one of the people who believes that the Colts, the success of the Colts is strictly tied to Andrew Luck, if you think he plays, if you think he's going to come back week 1 and be what he was a couple of years ago, bet it now before it goes up. Get it at 6.5. But I wouldn't touch this one, even with Andrew Luck, because he hasn't played in forever, because he's not even allowed to like pick up a full-size grown man's football right now and throw it. He's basically playing Nerf football right now, and I hate that. And this offense, it's not like it's littered with playmakers right now either. You have T.Y. Hilton, who, I mean, this isn't strictly a fantasy podcast like a lot of our other ones, but my ranking with T.Y. Hilton is strictly tied to the health of Andrew Luck. I could bump him into that like top like 15, 12, close to 10 range with Luck. Without him, he's flirting around that 20 mark with me. I can't put the faith in him. And due to his health and the talent around him, I would have to go under here. I do like what they did in the draft to help Luck, adding offensive line. It's not often you see a guard go in the top 10, but it was the right pick. Obviously, if he pans out, it's the right pick. If he busts, it's the wrong pick. But I'd be willing to bet right now that it's the right pick for the future. You have to do that. You have to start protecting Luck. You have to start surrounding him with people. So I like that, but not this year. I think I would have to go under here, even though it's not one that I'll bet. I know I've said that a lot, but it's not like you want to bet on all these teams anyways. You kind of want to pinpoint your favorite ones, and the Colts just don't make my list either way.
Yeah, I just have to think that they didn't grab a quarterback because they're that confident that he's going to be back. So it's got to, I mean, he's got to play. I don't know. We would look back at this if he never played again. Like, this could be looked at as, like, the potentially greatest quarterback to never get to play,
right.
Like, to never get to see his potential. Like, you saw what he could be for a couple of years, and it would be, like, the most disappointing player that we never got to see, play out his future.
For sure.
It would be so upsetting.
It's so disappointing to, like, I didn't mind watching the Colts a couple of years ago when Luck played just because he brought that excitement. You knew they were going to be in every game. He was a relevant fantasy guy every single week. And now it's like, I get to watch Jacoby Brissett maybe throw a couple of bombs to T.Y. Hilton. He'll land one every 4 weeks. We have no threat at running back because teams know we're going to run the ball and we can't because we don't have that threat of a quarterback. He makes the Colts relevant in my mind in the NFL. And without him, I'm just going to make a total pass on them. Got anything else you want to add for the AFC?
Nope.
Awesome. Well, if you aren't following us on Twitter, make sure you do so. We are at Loaded Box. Check out our website for our latest blogs, latest podcasts, fantasy football rankings, loadedboxpodcast.wordpress.com. Our next episode, we are going to be doing the same thing, but for the teams in the NFC, so make sure you stay tuned for that one. Check us out, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. Search Loaded Box and you will find it. DJ, send us away.
Bye.